we could be in a situation where, you know, Bournemouth could be looking like they're home and dry, promoted back to the Premier League by Christmas.
It is a decisive fixture in the promotion race because, as I say, it's a chance for either of these sides to really stamp a mark.
I think if there's one position in particular that Championship really excels at, it's excellent centre halves.
And his smile is an absolute delight. He's got such a lovely grin on him. You can't go wrong there, can you?
When I was thinking of centre halves, I didn't consider his smile. If you could have one player in Championship history step up and take a last-minute penalty, a last-minute spot kick, who would you want it to be?
What a Championship player, what a penalty taker. There's no other player I'd choose. As I say, hands down, has to be him.
If they don't win against Barnsley this weekend, then there's going to be a lot of pressure piling onto Nigel Pearson. Oh, baby, welcome back to the Stopwatch, a topical championship show with a little twist. It's 5 topics, a 2-minute timer, and 2 hosts. We're Ryan and Justin from the TAKER podcast, and let's get right into it, Justin. After Mick McCarthy's dismissal last weekend, who do you think should Cardiff appoint next?
It's the age-old question, isn't it? I'm going to edge towards Michael Flynn. I think his record at Newport is very good, and the circumstances at Newport are very similar to what they are at Cardiff. Tight budget, having to manage a transition between styles from direct to nice attacking football, and he's a young, vibrant manager with a lot of pedigree as well. So I think he's local. He's local, even better. So I think he should be the next manager Cardiff should go for, definitely.
I think Cardiff fans are definitely looking for a young, fresh face. For me, Chris Hughton would be the perfect appointment because I think he's experienced, got a great record at Championship level, and the style of play suits what they've got there. But I'm getting the feeling Cardiff fans don't want that. So I think Michael Flynn would make sense. Another young manager who I think would also make sense is Gareth Ainsworth, who's someone we know very well, Justin, from his time at Wycombe last season when they were in the Championship. Another young manager, perfectly suits the style of play. I think he'd be a great appointment, Justin.
I mean, him and Michael Flynn are very similar in some circumstances. I just think Ainsworth's got a lot more experience at managing teams, essentially. Obviously, both took charge of teams who have small budgets, both overperformed in their respective clubs. So I think can't really go wrong with either of them. But I think Michael Flynn's just got that edge at the moment where he's a bit younger. He's got a bit more time to mould things at Cardiff in terms of a long-term contract. And he's done a little bit more. I think he saved Newport from oblivion, which is, I think, a very big accolade for a manager who was so young at the time.
I think Ainsworth would bring back that rapport that Cardiff fans had with their management team that they saw under Neil Warnock and really made him a fan favourite, and that ultimately spread around the club. So I think he'd be perfect on that front. Just a next question, please.
As Rob Dickey meets Joe Worrell on Friday night, who is the best centre-half in the division?
I tell you what, there are some brilliant centre-halves. I think if there's one position in particular that the Championship really excels at, it's excellent centre-halves, because there are so many who I think could easily make the step up to the Premier League. The one player who really stands out for me is Harry Souttar, someone I've mentioned plenty of times on this show, who's a proper Rolls-Royce defender. You know, big, he's the biggest player in the division, but he's also quite quick, good with his feet, brilliant reader of the game, and he has this fantastic ability to ping long diagonal balls to whoever's playing at wing back or on the wing. He's fantastic. I really love him as a player, and I think he's definitely going to be destined for the Premier League at some point, Justin.
I had quite a few Premier League links as well recently, but I think the player that I would, the player that I would edge for is Carl Bartley. The first one that popped in my head is Sean Hutchinson from Millwall, very statistically one of the best centre-halves in the division. But Carl Bartley this season has been another level. He was even better. He's been even better this season than he was in the previous promotion season under Bilic. He's a player that can pass it out from the back. He's a leader. He's an organizer. And he's a bit naughty at times as well, which is what you need as a defender. He can wind up opponents. And his smile is an absolute delight. He's got such a lovely grin on him. You can't go wrong there, can you?
When I was thinking of centre-halves, I didn't consider his smile. Why did I not think of this? But yeah, Carl Bartley's a fantastic player. I'd like to hear more of Hutchinson. Why didn't you go with him?
I just think because Millwall haven't been competing at the top for as long as the likes of West Brom have, for example. I think Carl Bartley edges him in that sense. But Hutchinson, as I say, statistically, has been one of the top centre halves in the division over the past 3 or 4 seasons. Just very unfortunate that I don't think Millwall have been competing in that top 6 to really push him into that category.
Interesting. Well, after 3 losses on the bounce and no home wins in 17 games, Justin, could Bristol City get drawn into the relegation battle? And is Nigel Pearson under pressure, given that he's still not won a match at Ashton Gate?
Look, let's be honest, if you're not winning your home games, you're going to be down there in and around the bottom 3, aren't you? So I think if Bristol City's bad form continues at home, then they will get sucked into a relegation battle. I think that's inevitable. I don't think that form will continue. It's got to turn at some point. It's not this 40-year-old curse that Benfica have with European trophies. It will turn at some point. And I think, yeah, if Bristol City don't win a game at Ashton Gate, naturally Nigel Pearson will be under pressure. But I think there's got to be the thought of a long-term project at Bristol City. So I don't think they should change hands or get or panic just yet.
I think they will be looking over their shoulder. I'm not sure they'll get drawn into a relegation battle because I think there are 3 worse teams at the very least who are better, who are worse than Bristol City. So I don't think they'll be actually in much danger of actually going down. But there's no question Nigel Pearson is under pressure from some sections of the Bristol City support. Some were even chanting for him to go at the weekend. I think this match coming up against Barnsley is massive because if they don't win there against one of the worst teams in the division at home, then Nigel Pearson, the pressure is really, really going to mount, isn't it?
It will naturally because, as you say, Barnsley have been pretty woeful generally this season and they've not won a game away from home all season. So if they pick up 3 points, and you're quite right, yeah, they will be under pressure. But at the same time, that form can't continue at home for Bristol City, and they will improve again. They've got good players, good experienced players, and they will find a way to win, definitely at Ashton Gate at some point.
It's going to happen at some point, isn't it? Because they have been competitive at home. They've actually been playing all right at home, despite what the results are saying. And that's why I think if they don't win against Barnsley this weekend, then there's going to be a lot of pressure piling onto Nigel Pearson, and a lot of people will be losing hope about them ever winning at Ashton Gate ever again. Just the next question, please.
With Fulham and West Brom locking horns on Saturday, which way do you see the tie panning out? And is it already an important fixture for the promotion race?
Look, it's 100% an important fixture for the promotion race, isn't it? Not only because it's, a 6-pointer for both these teams, but a draw could potentially see Bournemouth 7 points clear of the 2 of them at the end of this weekend. And we could be in a situation where, Bournemouth could be looking like they're home and dry, promoted back to the Premier League by Christmas at the rate that things are going. So Bournemouth will definitely be keeping an eye on it. But without question, for both these teams, with Bournemouth looking so good at the moment, sure, it may not last for the whole season, but with them looking so good, Fulham and West Brom are very much aware that at the moment, as things stand, it's a battle between those two for second place, isn't it?
At the moment, as you say, that's definitely the case. And for me, it's a test for both of these sides, both in style of play, both in personnel, because you look at the quality of depth that these 2 sides have got. It's a real matchup, a real humdinger in that sense. And the styles of play thing is a really important factor because you've got direct football under Ishmael, you've got nice passing football under Silva, which will prosper, which will get the better of each other. It might not. It might pan out as a draw. But, we saw a similar game in the opening game of the season, West Brom, Bournemouth, very competitive game. We could see the same here. We will see the same here just because of the quality of these 2 sides. It is a decisive fixture in the promotion race because, as I say, it's a chance for either of these sides to really stamp a mark on that top 2.
In my experience of covering these big games from doing this podcast for quite some time now, Justin, it always ends in a draw. So I can only see it panning out as a stalemate, both teams cancelling each other out, it heading to a draw. And for Bournemouth, that will be a massive result. Finally, Justin, we're going for something a bit different here in our final question. It's called the second tier retro, and it's where we get asked a question regarding the history of the Championship. And this one is a very interesting one this week. There are plenty of players who come to mind for this particular question. If you could have one player in Championship history step up and take a last-minute penalty, a last-minute spot kick, who would you want it to be?
I thought of this player as soon as I saw this question. No other player came to my mind. I've not even thought about any other player, and that player is Graham Alexander. He is a ruthless machine at penalties. He had a straight run up and he would angle his shot in either corner. Goalkeepers had no chance. He took 50. Well, he scored 57 in his whole career and only missed 4. What a championship player! What a penalty taker! There's no other player I'd choose. As I say, hands down, has to be him.
I admit, Graham Alexander, very good shout. There were plenty of players who came to mind, actually, but the one who really stood out for me instantly was the man, the myth, the legend, Ricky Lambert. And that's mainly because 51 penalties scored in his whole career, only missed 3. And he hasn't missed one. Well, he's obviously retired now, but he didn't miss one since 2009. And considering he only retired quite recently, took a lot of penalties in that time, Justin. The man got, he was just composure defined. And as his career went on, he only got more and more composed and was just ever so reliable from the spot. So he's the shout for me. But we'll give honourable mentions to the likes of Paul Gallagher with that run up. When you're doing that run up, it's, you know, the ball is instantly, the pressure is instantly on the goalkeeper instead. And then Lyle Taylor. How could we forget Lyle Taylor and his walk up to the spot? There were so many, aren't they, Justin? But I feel like our shouts in particular probably stand up above the rest.
They're a step ahead of everyone, and it's very hard to debate it just because Ricky Lambert's a very good player, very good penalty taker. Graham Alexander, one of the best in the world for me at penalties, let's be honest. I'll stick that one out there, but you quite rightly say 2 of the best, two by far the best. No other question, really.
And we forgot about Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney, of course, is another one who's a expert from the spot, but yeah, plenty of options in this. Ricky Lambert wins it for me, though. And that wraps it up for another episode of the Stopwatch. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Drop us a like if you've enjoyed, and please subscribe for more content like this. We've been the Second Tier Podcast. You can find us at Second Tier Pod on Twitter. I'm Ryan Dilkswan on Twitter. That's Justin Peach 27 over on Twitter as well. You can find us also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so make sure you listen to our weekly podcasts. And thank you for listening.